He is State Representative Jim Struzzi on the air with us this morning, and our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. The legislative session just coming to a close. You survived it. Good morning.
Good morning, Todd. Thanks for having me on.
It's good. It's a pleasure to have you on. The legislative session for 2020, I know, was not anything that it was anticipated to be. When you go back to January of last year and think about what you were hoping it would turn into and what it actually turned into, I know it's kind of mind-boggling, isn't it?
Well, it certainly is. It's been a tumultuous, frustrating year on many levels. You know, the first year for me being a state representative, we were able to accomplish a lot of good, positive things. And this year was completely the opposite. You know, trying to provide for people, trying to navigate through this pandemic, all the other things happening, the continuation of the governor's efforts to move the regional greenhouse gas initiative forward. Through all this is an ongoing battle that we have to continue to fight. So there's just so many things on many levels that I understand. That's part of the job, I suppose. But, you know, I certainly hope we can get back to some more positive and productive efforts moving forward.
Well, let's start with one of the things you just mentioned. The Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative public comment period is open right now, and I know that you and Senator Pittman both advocating that folks let their voices be heard.
Yeah, this is one of the most important issues facing Indiana County and Pennsylvania right now. I know a lot of people will continue to talk about the election and the pandemic, and rightly so. But RGGI is looming before us. As I said, the governor and the Department of Environmental Protection continue to move this forward, even over a holiday season, even over everything else that's happening. So the public comment period is open right now. Next week, the DEP will begin a series of virtual public hearings, which is equally frustrating because there's really no geographical component to those virtual public hearings from my understanding. So, you know, I'm going to be tuning in and providing testimony, and I would encourage every Indiana County resident who is concerned about our energy industry, about our local jobs, about our local taxes, about our local school districts, to tune in as well, submit public comments. You can go to the PA Power Jobs website, and they have the whole process outlined. I will have information in my Friday weekly email tomorrow with all the information about the hearings and how to submit public comments. But it is so vitally important that prior to January 14th, which is when the public comment period ends, that people submit testimony and make it clear that this is going to be bad for Pennsylvania. It's going to be bad for our economy. It's going to cost Indiana County residents, all residents really, because most experts believe that our energy bills will increase even for your household energy costs. So it's imperative that people submit testimony and express their concerns about Pennsylvania moving into the greenhouse gas initiative.
Usually when you have hearings such as those that are scheduled in a virtual format, you do get to hear from both sides because the people who are conducting the hearings represent both sides of a particular issue. Do you feel that folks have a really good understanding of what RGGI would do for or to Indiana County?
I really don't think people at the base level have that understanding. You know, I've been fighting this since the governor proposed these regulations back in October of 2019, as has Senator Pittman and a number of our colleagues. And, you know, through the course of this year and a half fight, I guess, or, you know, we've been uncovering all these different things and hearing the different testimony and hearing from, you know, all of our trade unions and our power plants. We were just on a call earlier this week, and you know, there's some truly dire concerns for the future of our energy generation here in Pennsylvania and the overreaching impacts of Pennsylvania potentially becoming an energy importer as opposed to an exporter like we are right now. I mean, people need to understand that your school taxes, your property taxes are going to go up if our power plants close because they submit such a large amount to our local school districts' budgets, particularly, you know, United and Homer Center, and people need to understand that, and I hope that, you know, people can do their research. As I said, we're going to have a lot of information in my Friday email tomorrow, but truly concerned for the future of Pennsylvania. I understand people have environmental concerns, but in the vast amount of research that I've done and hearing different testimony, this really isn't about global warming or about climate change. It's about creating a new tax as a way that I believe the governor's administration thinks will generate revenue for projects and things like that. But if you shut down the power plants and you shut down all of these energy producers, you're not going to have a tax to collect. And it's simply going to push business and capital investment out of this Commonwealth.
Other issues, of course, that you've been dealing with recently include the state budget. Pretty satisfied with how those talks ended and with the deal that was arrived at, or do you think it was lacking?
It was certainly not an easy budget, Todd. We had to make some cuts, pull from some special funds, which I know people don't like to hear, but it was a very difficult budget to balance. And I think all things considered, we did the best we could. I know it's only 7 months, so we can revisit a lot of those things, but we were able to level fund a lot of key programs, particularly in the human services area where people, desperately need those services right now. So I think that we did the best we could. As you know, I was on that special committee, and I appreciated that opportunity. It really gave me the education behind the scenes on how a lot of revenue is generated. And I think with it, we also laid the foundation for some programs that we can implement in the future to generate new revenue. So I think it was a good process. But again, there's a lot of needs out there. I'm concerned with funding for the state system of higher education. Obviously, everyone's aware of the issues at IUP and the state system. We have to find a way in the next budget to hopefully offset some of those costs and help them continue to move forward. But it's only a 7-month budget. People need to understand that. And revenues are looking better now. I saw the report yesterday for November, and November and October revenues came in much higher than anticipated. So that's good news moving forward. Hopefully we can continue that trend in the upcoming year.
Talking with State Representative Jim Struzzi this morning here on Indiana in the Morning. Representative Struzzi, there has been a lot of talk and a lot of criticism of the Pennsylvania General Assembly for the passage of the mail-in voting law that did become law this year and obviously played a large role in the recent election, and there's even talk of some rifts within the Republican caucuses in both the House and Senate. If we could break that down a little bit and find out what some of the issues are with that particular law and whether it's adequate or even constitutional, what are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, Todd, obviously the election is one of the foremost issues on people's minds right now. I think the mail-in ballots needs to be looked at again. We obviously have some fixes that need to occur in the upcoming session related to the election. A lot of people see things in the media and they see things on the news and they think that we have more power than we really do. And, we've been getting inundated with emails from across the state and really across the country because people see these things and they think that we have the constitutional power to basically change the results of this election, and we don't. The best thing we can do, and our state government committee just issued a 40-plus page report outlining some of the actions that we're taking and some of the things that are ongoing right now, and there are a number of lawsuits pending. But the bottom line, moving forward, we need to make sure we fix what broke in this election, and that includes the mail-in balloting process. And if there's accountability, then that needs to occur. Within the State Department, there's a lot of questions about actions that were taken right up to the election by the Secretary of State and the governor, and they need to be held accountable for those actions. But, just basing those opinions on stuff that you see in social media or that you hear, and I know a number of my colleagues have been putting stuff out there, and some of it was, in my opinion, irresponsible because it did create some false expectations, particularly when you're making public announcements on the final day of session. And constitutionally, we are all representative elects right now. So we're technically, until we get sworn in, we can't vote on anything. And by the Constitution, that has to occur on the first Tuesday in January. I know that's frustrating for a lot of people, and I'm concerned with the election process, the integrity election process. When people are emailing and saying, "I'll never vote again," I mean, that's not how this is supposed to work. So we need to fix what was broken, find out what truly occurred in this election. If there was fraud, then people need to be held accountable for that, and those fraudulent votes need to either be thrown out or whatever the process may be. But I am confident that we're doing everything we can from a legal standpoint within the House. I know that we consult with our House constitutional attorneys on a regular basis, and the question is, are we doing everything we can legally? And they say that we are. Aside from people trying to grab headlines and things like that and mislead people and create false expectations, I'm confident that we're doing everything within our power to make sure that this election process can be conducted with integrity and confidence from the voters that every legal vote will be counted.
A couple of moments left with State Representative Jim Struzzi. You mentioned the new session will begin with the swearing in on the first Tuesday of January, and then off you go. A few weeks later, you'll be getting together, setting agendas. What are some of the things you want to see happen in the first half of 2021?
Well, I'm excited to get back to voting on some positive bills that truly help people, Todd. I'm going to introduce a package of bills based on the House Resolution 268 that I passed last year in 2018 that required the Joint State Government Commission to do a study on the behavioral health needs within Pennsylvania. And we received that report in the spring or in the fall. And so I'm actually having a meeting today on that to look at what we can do legislatively to help our healthcare systems in the realms of behavioral and mental health. And I think that's so vitally important, particularly given the whole COVID pandemic. And then there's a number of bills that I introduced and some that even passed out of the House that didn't make it across the finish line, including Cody's Law and a few other bills that I'm going to reintroduce. And so I'm excited to move forward to really make a difference in the upcoming session. Locally, I want to look at prioritizing what are our infrastructure needs across Indiana County and the communities I represent. Working with our leadership team to continue to try and grow our economy here. And first and foremost, though, I think it's important that people pay attention to the COVID pandemic. It's very serious right now. I'm in regular conversations with the Indiana Regional Medical Center folks, and there are some very serious concerns right now. So, I want to make sure that I say it publicly that people do need to follow the guidelines and make sure that we're keeping everyone safe.
He is State Representative Jim Struzzi. Much to do in the coming session, much to do in this coming month. Thanks so much for spending some time with us today.
Thanks for having me, Todd.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.
Great day.
You too.